is to examine the most recent advances as well as changing fields of study and research environments in the vast field of humanities and social sciences. We want to make a significant contribution to the current discussion about the future of education by adopting an analytical approach and taking into account the implications of 2020 National Education Policy as well as evolving paradigms in research methodology. At the core of this work is a genuine desire to explore recently emerging fields of study that tackle the complexities of society, politics, culture, and literature.
Respected chief guests, faculty members, and participants, a very warm welcome to all.
Ayush, you are speaking on mute. Please unmute yourself. Kanak, you may please take over. Kanak? Kanak, you may please take over. If he is having some mic problem.
Respected chief guests, faculty members, and participants, a very warm welcome to all of you present here. Today, I, Kanak Mishra, and my co-host Ayush Prasad of ASL Department of Amity University, Lucknow campus, are very delighted to welcome you all to the paper reading session of 11th International Conference organized by Amity School of Languages, conveyed by Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray. Her visionary leadership and unwavering commitment have been instrumental in shaping the success of our institution. It's because of ma'am's courtesy that we are able to conduct this paper reading session on international context smoothly. We express our deepest gratitude to ma'am. Today, we have Dr. Saurabh Banerjee as our session chair. Sir is an associate professor of English literature, education ambassador, India of IOER, Burdwan University, Philippines. Sir has over 20 years of teaching experience and also has a PhD in Australian literature. Sir has also led many international projects and many national and international publications. We are very grateful that Sir is spending his precious time with us. I would like to introduce our session organizer, Dr. Deepshika, Professor, Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Lucknow campus. Now we must proceed with the session. We would like to inform all the participants to kindly adhere to the time limit, that is 5 minutes for a smoother conduct of the session. It should also be stated that any doubts and questions would be discussed after paper presentations. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Klinsa Kurin from Arthur Institute of Management Studies and Research to present a research paper on the title, The Concept of Chronic Captivity Stress in Catherine Everglades' novel, The One and Only Ivan.
Thank you so much, ma'am, respected organizers, chief guests, and also the subject experts. I'm Dr. Klinza Kurin, and I would like to make a presentation on the topic, the concept of chronic captivity stress in Catherine Applegate's novel, The One and Only Eva. Now, in this particular novel, I'll be talking about this concept, which is known as a chronic captivity stress. Now, what is chronic captivity stress? While the physical needs of animals are met in captivity, the conditions of confinement and exposure to humans can result in physiological stress, which is harmful. According to Jonathan Hunt, a critic, the choice to tell a story in the first person and to personify the gorilla with an entire range of human thoughts, feelings, and emotions poses important questions to the reader, not only about what it means to be human, but also what it means to be a living creature and what kind of kinship we all share. With this introduction itself, everyone would have guessed that the topic of chronic captivity stress, this is pertaining to a fictitious character in a novel, which is a gorilla. And, he has been captivated or held in captivity for about 9,876 days. And this particular novel is written from the point of view of Ivan, which is the gorilla. Now, what does a gorilla do during this time period? He lives his life watching television and bananas and also selling artwork which is made by his owner. Tricks become a metaphor for Ivan, as Ruby, a baby elephant who's just introduced, to him, learns to perform these particular tricks. But what is it really that the gorilla is longing for? He is longing for freedom. And Ivan, he reminisces his life before the Big Top Mall incident. He undergoes this captivity stress just because he is isolated and completely away from company. He uses his artwork in order to depict a home. So in order to keep the people who have come to visit him, he draws and he paints. And in those particular figures that we see, it is the figure of a home. Now, what do these things mean? In psychological terms, confinement can lead to physiological stress. Now, how do we handle this kind of a captivity stress? Now, I'd like to mention something that is a particular study that was being conducted by the National Library of Medicine. Now, they claim that hormonal and physiological reactions help an animal survive harmful stimuli. But what are the adverse effects? The adverse effects are that the adrenomedially response, which makes increased heart rate and muscle tone evident. So it is not even a surprise that Ivan would have suffered from all these physiological conditions. Now, the next problem that this animal could have faced is that of overexposure, which again leads to physiological problems like weight loss, immune system changes, and also decreased reproductive capacity. Now, what about the solutions to these problems? Once again, the solutions are being provided by National Library of Medicine, which claims to say that it lies in a particular thing called stress response. And this particular stress response becomes weak if the animal's ability to cope shrinks. Stress response further elevates chronic stress. So stress which leads to more and more stress. And the long-term stress which leads to weight loss and immunosuppression again builds up severe health conditions. Now, what about the chronic stress condition that Ivan has met with? Chronic stress also occurs even if the physical needs are being met. It is not only important if we provide animals with food and water, but what ultimately is needed is their mental happiness. Now, as a result of this captivity stress, GC secretions are emitted. GC secretions are nothing but glycoconjugate secretions. And if this factor is not controlled, it can even lead. Now, the negative impact on reproductive capability was also being noted when they studied this particular animal's condition. So, what can be done? Cage dwellings should be completely dealt with. Should be completely removed. And these animals should be exposed to natural lighting and temperature. Now, I'd like to conclude my paper by saying that the meaning of life for all animals means a life of freedom and not just the physical requirements that we provide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. The research paper was truly insightful.
Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Angna Bose from Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology, JES, to present her paper on the title OTT Markets Consumer Profiting, a cluster approach to the emerging OTT consumption.
Ma'am, do you have a PPT to present?
Yes. I'm trying to share the PPT, but I think the control is. I'm not able to share a screen.
Okay,
Just a minute.
just 1 second, ma'am. I'll make you a presenter.
Okay. I think that was not all right.
No, I'm not getting the option. You do one thing, ma'am. Please mail it to me. I'll share it on your behalf.
All right. All right. How do I get your mail address?
I'm giving it to you on the group.
All right. I'll wait. By that time,
Can we have the next? Can we have the next
Yeah.
speaker speaking till
Yes,
Amina kind of sends her over, and then she can speak after the speaker? That will save
yes, sir,
time, I
why not?
suppose.
Right, sir. Absolutely right. Next participant. Kanak, please invite the next participant.
Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Akanksha Sharma from Banastri Vidyapeeth to present her research paper on the topic Emerging Dynamics in India's Maritime Geopolitics, Prospects and Obstacles in Indo-Pacific Region.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. I'm here. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My paper, the co-author of my paper is Dr. Priyadarshini Purohit. She is my guide, and I'm here to present my paper before you to embark on a journey into the heart of one of the most captivating narratives of our time, the dynamic theater of maritime geopolitics in the Indo-Pacific. This research paper is based on qualitative methodology, and it is particularly well suited for disciplines where the exploration of context, meaning, and subjective experience is paramount, providing a qualitative lens through which to interpret the intricacies of our diverse world. The Indo-Pacific, a vast expanse stretching from the African shores to the Americas, is more than just a geopolitical entity. It is the crucible of global interest, economic vitality, and geopolitical maneuvering. Within this maritime tapestry, India, with its expansive coastal line and strategic positioning, emerges as a key protagonist navigating the intricate waters of international relations with finesse and purpose. Sorry for the disturbance. Now, I'm going to introduce my next part of this topic, India's maritime diplomacy, navigating its geopolitical currents to secure strategic advantage. India's maritime geopolitics stands at the confluence of historical legacies, economic imperatives, and strategic considerations, shaping the nation's approach to the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean, often referred to as the India's backyard, plays a pivotal role in the nation's security and economic interest, serving as a conduit for approximately 90% of its trade by volume and 70% by value. India's maritime geopolitics also unfolds the context of complex regional dynamics. The IOR, Indian Ocean region, emerges as a theater where India seeks to cultivate strategic partnerships to counterbalance the influence of other major powers too. Now, in initiatives like Quad Relative Security Dialogue, and the IONS Indian Ocean Naval Symposium exemplify India's efforts to foster collaboration on regional and global maritime issues, signaling the importance of collaborative security in the maritime domain. Now, if we talk about the prospects of India in Indo-Pacific geopolitics, there are the themes like strategic partnership, economic opportunities, naval modernization, security cooperation, and infrastructure development, as well as there are so many obstacles in India's maritime geopolitics. Now we can navigate the challenges on behalf of China's expanding influence, territorial disputes, resource competition within the major powers, technological challenges, and economical constraints. I would like to conclude my paper by the words, by the optimistic way we can collaborate here. Collaborative security efforts with global partners manifest through joint naval exercises and defense agreements, enhancing India's maritime security. Such efforts contribute not only to India's defense capabilities but also to regional deterrence, reinforcing the nation's role as a stabilizing force in the region. Infrastructure development, exemplified by projects like the Chabahar port in Iran, reinforces India's connectivity and strategic access. This initiative underscores India's commitment to shaping the regional order, providing not just economic opportunities but also enhancing the nation's geopolitical influence. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this great opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. The presentation was really educational. Now, I would like Ms. Shauli Bhaumik from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, to present her paper on the topic Flowing Narratives, Unraveling the Riparian Report here in the Blue Humanities Paradigm.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible. You may please proceed.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon to all of you. I'm Shaoli. Currently, I'm pursuing my master's in English literature from JNU, And for my research paper, I'll be presenting on flowing narratives, and I'll be unraveling the riparian landscape in from the perspective of blue humanities. So human existence is caught up by the perpetual interplay between the dynamics and the statics. It's like something is flowing at the same time, it's something is also very static. And river thus emerges as a very poignant symbol encapsulating life's ebb and flow. So from ancient civilization to early settlements, rivers have always been both containers and carriers of livelihood, shaping the destinies of communities. So the riparian landscape of Indian literature, specifically of Bengali literature, is very rich. So it encompasses works like Chaurjapad, Sri Krishna Kirtan, Vaishnav Padavali, Manasha Mangal, then Chandi Mangal. So in Charyapad, the poet Chatilpad, he uses this phrase called Bhabono Gahono Gombhiro Vege Bahi. This is a Bengali phrase which can loosely be translated into saying that river, they have such a, it's a very metaphorical portrayal that says that rivers are so intense and yet very tranquil forces of nature, offering a perspective that transcends the conventional boundaries. So in his book Unruly Waters, Sunil Amrit also says that the risk associated with waters are exacerbated by the elevated poverty rates and inequalities which is prevalent within the societies of South Asia, specifically Southeast Asia. So while so in Steve Hertz in his Blue Humanities discourse of Blue Humanities also says that Blue Humanities is working on water bodies. It will work on water bodies. It will work on maritime and ocean meteorology. But I have noticed this tendency that the focus and the priority is always on oceans. And since childhood, we have always been taught, and also Sanjeev Channal in his book also writes that India is known as the land of seven rivers, where the river, it kind of contributes to the emergence of India as a geopolitical power, which has so much for power within its own capacity, because it has water bodies which are not only oceans but which are mostly river. So in my research paper, I'll be talking about the cultures, the narratives, and the geopolitical landscape, and the relationship between man and rivers by referencing to the work of Podda Nodir Majhi, or the boatman of the river Padma, by Manik Bandyopadhyay. So in this and I'll also try to contribute to the blue humanities perspective. So as I don't have a lot amount of time, so in my paper I have basically talked about how river, it emerges as a very strong metaphor that is not only, it's not only a motive, it's not only a leitmotif that comes over and over again, but it is something which kind of shapes human life. It is something that shapes the politics, the culture of a particular motion. We see that both the Muslim and the Hindus in the river bank of Padma, they live together, even though the condition is very dire. They don't have their own resources, they don't have anything. The living condition is like, there is also a statement where Manik Bandyopadhyay writes that they don't even have the resources to pray to the god of death, because the cry of the child in fisherman's hut, it never stops, because there is poverty is the ultimate truth in their life. But still these people are living together despite their religious discrepancies. And there's also interlude of Kapila and Kuber's love story, just to give like a relief to the reader, just to bring a sense of something new in the narrative. And the narrative keeps on flowing like the flow of the river. So, and this is not only the only example of riparian literature, because like there are a lot of riparian novels, and even though the river is not the main body of some novels, it comes again and again, thereby adding on to the main narrative of the story. So um this research paper actually aimed to and the narrative of the Padma Nadir Majhi by Manik Bandyopadhyay, the study explored the intricate relationship between rivers and human life in literature. And it also aimed to contribute to the field of blue humanities. And the conclusion underscores that the importance of living greater emphasis on river narratives, emphasizing their profound influence on various aspects of human existence, and the need for continued exploration in the evolving academic discipline. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Kanak, are you there?
Now, thank you so much, ma'am. It was an enlightening presentation. Now, I would like to call Dr. Annie Gupta from Postgraduate Government College for Girls, Chandigarh, to present her research paper on the
Ayush,
topic.
Ayush,
Yes.
Ayush. Sorry to interrupt you. Angana ma'am, are you there? Angana Bose
Yes,
ma'am, are you there?
ma'am.
Would you
Yes,
like to
ma'am. Yes,
present,
ma'am.
ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Annie
yes,
ma'am,
sure.
after Angana ma'am, you may present. Will that be all right?
Sorry, Deepshikha ma'am. This is Dr. Annie here.
I can hear you. I said, will you be able to present after Angana ma'am?
Who would that be?
Just
Isn't it
one
my
person
number
or
right
more.
now?
Just 5 minutes.
Okay.
Angana ma'am, you may please proceed.
Okay, ma'am. Are you sharing the screen? Ma'am, so the control will be on your side, right?
Yes, ma'am, the control will be on my side. Whenever you need to change the slide, you just ping me. You say next, I'll change for you.
Okay. Sure, ma'am. Sure.
All,
Okay, done.
all right.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angana Bose from the Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology. Being a researcher, I am ready to deep delve into the OTT market. We can't relegate the fact that OTT is a market with a limited base of, or in fact, a potential base of consumers, and it's an infotainment industry. So, an approach to the emerging OTT consumption would be deep delving into the fact that we are also deep delving into the digital humanities era. So the next slide, which yes, so we are all aware of this N that stands for Netflix today. Like we have to look. Can we go back to the previous slide, please? The previous one, which has this N stands for Netflix, which we all know. We are familiar with uh, this kind of sound and the kind of aura that this particular thing brings in. It brings a powerhouse of content. A huge entire library of content is dedicated to the younger demographic of a country and global scenario, where we generally find the dissemination of content and infotainment through the internet. That is what OTT means. OTT full for the acronym stands for over the top. Over the top means that it is not generally the dissemination through the cables or the satellites, which was the case earlier. It is already over the top, that is through the internet today. So I'll break this particular presentation into purpose, design, method, findings, and implication into this particular template of Netflix. The next slide. Okay, so the my purpose is as OTT platforms expand today, stakeholders need to grasp OTT consumers' behavior, like the behaviors of different consumers are dynamic. It is never static and monolithic. So the study addresses the following question: what are the key determinants or what are the key factors that affect consumer perception on OTT platforms? And how can the Indian audience be segmented? Because that is what the consumers or the content creators could be targeting in the field of digital humanities. And this study aims to analyze OTT customer segments. So once the segmentation of customers are done, what is the preferences or what are the viewing patterns of those consumers? So that is what the study will aim to address. Next slide. Okay, the previous slide has a few factors related to the proliferation of OTT content. Could we go to the previous slide where there are few factors of why OTT is popular today? Yes, so this is a KPMG analysis, KPMG in India analysis, where we also find that how is analog charting its way to the digital, and why we see that a television crossover to the news screen media. Next, we will also delve in the next slide. We'll also find now once the constructs are taken from there has been a quantitative study, the quantitative data study, questionnaire had been floated. So here from the constructs, we get to see earlier there were value delivery, content quality, convenience, affordability, peer group influence, personalization, content variety, and service. Since there were no items retained for content variety and service, we had to do away with those constructs and move ahead with the rest six. So we find that the reliability, the composite reliability and validity is somehow validated and reliable. So we move ahead with this top six constructs. Next slide. Okay, so the design is, as I said, the survey questionnaire was designed to obtain 343 responses from a purposive sampling of OTT consumers in India. The research obtained psychographic and demographic characteristics from OTT consumers. The characteristics were used for audience profiling. So basically what we are doing is, first we are segmenting the Indian audience on the basis of these constructs like convenience, personalization, affordability, and so on. We are actually trying to measure their perception. What is the perception of Indian audience towards OTT? And then we are doing an audience profiling based on these characteristics, that is demographic and psychographic characteristics. Next slide, please. So once this methodology is, the methodology is that we are actually trying to audience profile this, right? So this is done, like the next slide. Yes, so the demographics, if we look at the descriptive statistical analysis, all the participants aged 18 to 50 had educational qualifications ranging from below high school to doctorate. So it covers a wide range of Indian audience. Completed usable replies came from 343 respondents, rest were outliers. So once is the demographics and psychographics are with us, the sample population exhibits certain demographic characteristics like the age group, 114 were female, okay, while 228 were males. So 59 people were under the age group of 18 years old, and all the other things are right before us on the screen. So the bulk of respondents, they were graduate, postgraduate degrees. They're also their demographic characteristics also varied from their income group or the occupations from which they believe. From which they belong. Next is the psychographics. Now the psychographics is the main thing which will help us in the audience profiling. Why? Because for example, the frequency of viewing content, how many hours do they invest for viewing content? Okay, how often do they see these content, like weekly, annually? What is the subscription patterns? All these are, gauged through the psychographic information that they provided through that sample. Next slide. Okay, this is the result. Now we had applied the k-means clustering algorithm to the kind of response we received. So this was done through SPSS software. Now clustering gave us 5 clusters. Now cluster 1 is youthfully moderate enthusiasts. Like it comprises 12.5% of the data set. Men make up 8.7% of the cluster, women 3.8%. The cluster's majority are mostly 18 to 25 years old. That's why the name youthfully. Okay, like it's a very youthful cluster. 4.1% of the cluster members are high school graduates. 6.7 earn like less than 1 lakh owing to the age group that they belong to. So OTT is the cluster's 9.0% entertainment choice. So 12.5% OTT platform knowledge is impressive. So OTT material is consumed by 3.8% of the people for 1 to 2 hours daily. So that's why they are very much into OTT. 7.3% of them use Netflix as their primary OTT platform. They love the genre of web series and criminal thrillers or crime thrillers. Many subscribe material accessibility annually. The cluster also believes that OTT services affect their life by 7%. So the impact on OTT is that much. So the cluster exhibits youthful enthusiasm for OTT platforms. This group displays no strong inclination for any particular factor. Like there's no such inclination towards convenience, or there's no such inclination towards personalization of content. So they are moderately, they prefer all the variables to be a package. They either regard every factor equally or lack a distinct attitude towards the OTT platform, which is not the case with cluster 2, because cluster 2, they generally favor accessibility, user-friendly features, and a seamless viewing experience. Similarly, every cluster will have separate perception preference. Like this is the perception that I'm going for. Like for example, cluster 3, if we look at it, the last line says consumers value a customized, informative, and cost-effective streaming experience to optimize their financial investment. So they give a high value to affordability as well. While cluster 4, they emphasize value delivery and believe OTT services add a lot of value to their lives. Cluster 5, again, at the same time, shows that the last line, if you look at the last line, notably, this group emphasizes peer group influence on OTT consumption. So this peer group thing affects their viewing experience. This group values peer and social recommendations and embraces socializing. So these are the perception that every cluster values. If we look at the demographic and psychographics of every cluster, we have already discussed cluster 1, but cluster 2 is the educated streamers favoring convenience. Okay, so they are the ones who are the most educated cluster. They earn around like 1 to 5 lakhs. They belong to that particular bracket. The annual income distribution is reasonable. Sorry, just one moment. Okay, fine. We move to the conclusion, the concluding slide. The factors or the variables that measure audience perception of OTT consumption in the Indian context are convenience, content quality, affordability, peer group influence, and personalization. That answers the first question, the first research question, that what are the factors that measure the Indian audience's viewing patterns. Now, the Indian audience are segmented into 5 clusters on the basis of their demographic and psychographic characteristics. So what are the 5 things that are also being discussed? So these are the answering of the 2 research questions we had posed earlier. Cluster 1 audiences like value all the criteria equally and are typical young adults who use Netflix and other OTT services. Their daily behaviors are also impacted by the OTT material. Participants have diverse backgrounds, lower annual incomes. Cluster 2, which values convenience above everything else, includes men and women, many of whom have doctorate degrees and modest influence. Many people like Netflix and recognize OTT media providers. The cluster examines OTT content with a quantifiable impact on daily life. Male dominated cluster 3 prioritizes content quality, affordability, and personalization above all the factors. OTT services, especially Netflix, are preferred and impact everyday life. This group has a diverse educational and economic origin. So cluster 4 emphasizes value delivery, is largely younger, and favors Netflix. Many people consume weekly, which may little affect their daily lives. So this group comprises persons with varied degrees and incomes. Peer group influence is important to cluster 5's multi-gender population. So this cluster comprises 18 to 25-year-olds. So participants favor OTT services like Netflix, and they say somewhat affect their lives, like they affect their daily lives. So these are the theoretical implications. The slide, please.
Yes, ma'am, you're exceeding the time limit. Please conclude now.
Yes, yes. The implications is the last slide actually. Yes. So the research contributes to the Indian audience marketing and retail literature. Several studies have examined to the have been examined. Sorry, it's not visible now. Yes, thank you so much. Several studies have examined the OTT market and consumer behavior. Now, this work emphasizes application of clustering techniques to identify and define Indian customers more effectively. Okay, fine. No problem. But the managerial implications are, yes, so the slides come and go for me actually. So that's why it's not able to connect. So the results provide that OTT provide valuable managerial insights for OT. Again, they're the same thing for some. I'm so sorry. The slide is not very constant. So firms need to use technology to better strategy execution and value capture. So some of the stakeholders, they work towards tailoring their content for the audience that they provide. And practical implications revolve around marketers, advertisers, media scholars, and professionals, and industry strategists as well. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative presentation. Now, I would like to call Dr. Annie Gupta from Postgraduate Government College of Girls, Chandigarh, to present her paper on topic Unraveling Tapestry, Exploring Emerging Trends in Social Sciences and Humanities through French as a Foreign Language, Interculturality, and Intertextuality.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Am I audible and is my screen visible? Do we have the presentation on screen?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay,
And your screen is.
I, Dr. Annie Gupta, am working as an assistant professor in the Department of French at Postgraduate Government College for Girls, Sector 11 in Chandigarh. Today, through this presentation, I would like to share my views on unraveling the tapestry, exploring emerging trends in social sciences and humanities through French as a foreign language, interculturality, and intertextuality. To begin with the introduction, in an age characterized by unparalleled global interconnectivity, the tapestry of society is intricately interwoven with a myriad of languages and cultures. This reality underscores the necessity for a profound exploration into the evolving patterns in language education, particularly in relation to French as a foreign language, and the subtle impact these trends have on the domains of social sciences and humanities. As societies become increasingly interconnected, the ability to navigate the linguistic and cultural landscapes emerges as a vital skill. This article sets out on a journey to thoroughly examine these emerging trends and their extensive implications for the methods of teaching as well as learning. The focal point of this investigation is French as a foreign language, chosen not only for its intrinsic linguistic richness, but also for its historical and contemporary significance in the diplomacy, culture, and intellectual discourse. French serves as a gateway to understanding not just the linguistic measures, but also the critical intricacies of the Francophonie world, making it a compelling subject for examination in the context of social sciences and humanities education. As the dynamics of language education undergo a paradigm shift influenced by the technological advancements, increased mobility, and cultural diversity, it becomes essential to dissect these changes. This article aims to unravel increased mobility. This article aims to unravel the complexities inherent in the relationship between the teaching of French as a foreign language and its impact on the broader academic domains of social sciences and humanities. The exploration of these trends is not merely an academic exercise, it is a deliberate effort to comprehend how language proficiency, intercultural competency, and the nuances embedded in French language education contribute to shaping the intellectual landscape. By scrutinizing these trends, we aim to offer insights that transcend the confines of language classrooms, delving into the broader implications for interdisciplinary studies, cultural understanding, and the cultivation of global citizens equipped to navigate the challenges of our interconnected world. This article therefore serves as a critical lens through which we examine the intricate tapestry of language education trends, unraveling their significance for social sciences and humanities. As we embark upon this exploration, we seek to contribute to the ongoing discourse on foreign language education and its transformative potential in fostering a more interconnected, culturally aware, and intellectually enriched global society. I hope the slides are changing for you. Can you please say yes? Uh, are the slides changing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you carry on. We can see.
Okay. So So, reading upon my hypothesis for this particular research, we posit that the integration of interculturality and intertextuality into the teaching of French as a foreign language fosters a richer linguistic environment, enhances cultural competency, and contributes to a more profound comprehension of societal dynamics. As far as the research questions go, the first question we pose is how do intercultural and intertextual elements influence the acquisition and proficiency of French as a foreign language? Secondly, what role does the incorporation of these elements play in shaping the societal perceptions, interactions, and cultural identity? Now, as far as the literature review goes, literature review is it's a crucial component of this research as it offers a comprehensive survey of existing scholarship related to foreign language education, interculturality, and intertextuality. By synthesizing key findings from various sources, this section lays the groundwork. Scholars in the field of foreign language education have long explored the multifaceted nature of language acquisition. Pioneering works of Sevigny from 2001 and Larson Freeman from 2003 have emphasized the importance of communicative competence and cultural awareness in language learning. These foundational principles form the basis for contemporary approaches to foreign language education. Moving on further to interculturality as a concept has gained prominence in recent years. Bennett's work on intercultural competency highlights the needs for learners to develop skills that transcend mere language proficiency. Similarly, the intersection of intertextuality and foreign language education learning has been a topic of interest with scholars such as Kramsch from his works of 2000 advocating a more holistic understanding of language as a social practice. And in the context of societal implication, Briam's 1997 model of intercultural communicative competency is instrumental. He argues that language education should go beyond linguistic skills to encompass the ability to engage with the cultural diversity. As we delve into the critical analyses, these foundational ideas will be revisited. In delving into the practical implications of interculturality and intertextuality within the realm of French language education, this article employs a detailed critical analysis that draws upon the real world examples such as case studies, classroom practices, and pedagogical methodologies. The objective is to scrutinize the application of these theoretical frameworks and illuminate the tangible impact on both language learning and the broader dynamics of society. As
Sorry to
regards
interrupt. Please try to wind up now.
Yeah, as regards the case study, the first case study was done in the cultural dialogues in a secondary school setting, wherein the successes showed that the students showed increased enthusiasm for language learning. The integration of intercultural content sparks lively discussions about the French society. Second case study was done in a university, and the third one was done in a language institute through means of community engagement. Then, as regards the classroom practices, the first one was literary exploration through cultural narratives, which we actually provided with effectiveness, proven effective in fostering the cross-cultural understanding. And as regards the pen pals across borders, this was done in a high school in Toulouse. Educators initiated a cultural exchange program wherein the students engaged in written communication with their French counterparts. This again, the students here developed a sense of connection with their French peers, breaking down the cultural barriers. In the third collaborative project was taken as one of the classroom practices with multimedia cultural showcase. This was a project-based learning approach, therefore it proved effective in engaging the students in meaningful language experiences. Students not only enhanced their language skills, but they also developed a broader understanding of how cultural elements are communicated through different mediums. Then the pedagogical methodologies, the traditional grammar-centric approaches versus communicative strategies. Herein the insights that we had were that the traditional approach may excel in the formal language structure, but it can lack the cultural depth, whereas the communicative strategy encouraged the language use in the authentic context. Then the task-based learning, herein we developed an insight that the practical real-world tasks explore learners to authentic language use in diverse cultural scenarios, and the enhanced technology-based language learning via the virtual immersion. Herein we found that technology proves to be a powerful tool for creating virtual immersion experiences. The virtual tours of different monuments, multimedia resources, online cultural exchanges enrich the language learning by providing the authentic cultural context. Now, as regards the impact on the language learning and the societal dynamics are concerned, we found it especially in the area of language proficiency, the societal outcomes by examining the community engagement initiatives as well as the global citizenship through to navigate a globalized world and to contribute to the fostering of positive and international relations. And French, therefore, in order to conclude, I'm just going to read out to the conclusions. In conclusion, the finding of this research illuminate the transformative impact of integrating intercultural and intertextual elements into French language education. The journey through case studies, classroom practices, and pedagogical methodologies has revealed a tapestry woven in the benefits that extend far beyond the realm of language proficiency. The evidence strongly supports the assertion that the incorporation of intercultural, intertextual elements contributes substantially to the enhancement of language proficiency. Moreover, the
Ma'am,
research has showcased
request
just
you to
1 minute.
conclude.
Yeah, last 1 minute. The research has showcased the broader societal impact of these integrative practices. The multifaceted outcomes underscore the pivotal role that language education plays in shaping the individuals who navigate the complexities into a globalized world with empathy and cultural sensitivity. As we look to the future of foreign language education, the study advocates for a continued commitment to innovative pedagogical approaches that embrace interculturality and intertextuality. In essence, this research reinforces the notion that French language education goes beyond the acquisition of linguistic skills. It is a transformative journey that nurtures cultural awareness, fosters empathy, and equips individuals with the tools to navigate the intricacies of the interconnected world. The call to action is clear, that is to weave interculturality and intertextuality with the fabric of French language education, creating an enriched and dynamic learning environment that resonates far beyond the confines of the classroom. This is the bibliography, and thank you so much for your time for listening.
It was an
Yes, Kanak.
insightful presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like Dr. Amity Sharma from the English Department, English and Foreign Languages University, Lucknow, to present her research paper on the topic Intertextuality and Comics, Discursive Ways of Learning About Indian Culture.
Yes, is my slideshow visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right.
Yes,
So I'll begin. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Soumya Sharma. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Linguistics at the English and Foreign Languages University, Lucknow campus. And today I'm going to be presenting on intertextuality and comics, discursive ways of learning about Indian culture. So the basic thing, the basic idea about the
sorry
paper
to
is
intervene, ma'am.
that
If you can avoid these background voices, there is some echo that we can hear from your end, I guess.
uh,
Have you joined from two
Can I request
devices?
everyone
yes,
but
I've
the
joined
speakers
from
to
two
have their mics on
devices.
mute mode, please?
Ah, that is why, ma'am.
Okay.
Please mute the other one.
One second, one second. I've muted the other one. I'll okay, one second. Can I just present without the screen share? Is that possible?
Whatever suits you. You may
Okay, I'll do that.
proceed.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll present without the screen share. Right. So I'll present from just one device. Now am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, please
Yes,
carry on.
ma'am, you
You're
are
audible.
audible.
Yes. So, right. So, the thing is that NEP states very clearly, I have my presentation right in front of me over here. Right. So, I'm presenting from just one device. NEP states very clearly that there should be an emphasis on Indian knowledge systems. And one of the things in the Indian knowledge systems is knowing about our cultural heritage. For example, yogic sciences, right? And about practitioners who practice yoga. Yoga, particularly, in the modern day, is known as. It's known as not just physical exercise, but it is also basically an exercise in mindfulness. So my presentation deals with the discursive representations in comics of two yoga practitioners. They're very popularly known to everyone. One is Swami Vivekanand and the other is Paramhans Yoganand. Paramhans Yoganand has written his autobiography called Autobiography of a Yogi, which is known as a spiritual classic now. And the other is Swami Vivekanand. He's not written an autobiography, but his biography has been written by several people, foremost being Swami Nikhilanand from the Ramakrishna Mutt. The idea for the presentation is based on comic adaptations. Now, comics, as we know, are plurimedial communication channels because they're there in the print and the digital medium. They're part of popular culture. They're extremely messy. In fact, theorists say that because of their extreme popularity, over the years, comics have actually become a part of serious academic deliberations. And this was the reason why I chose to study comics. The methodology that I used was critical discourse analysis used by Normal Fairclough. he talks about it is a theory that is given in linguistics in the 1990s, 1992 to be specific, and he talks about how language and society are linked, and how by doing a micro linguistic analysis we can understand how people are represented, how groups are represented, and how the multiple discourses that are created. One of the tools that is extremely important in Fairclough's model is known as intertextuality. Now, this tool per se is found in both linguistics and in literature, and this comes from the work of the Russian philosopher Mikhail Bakhtin. Broadly, intertextuality is known as linkages across texts or echoes across texts, and it includes multiple types like allusions, quotations, pastiche, homage, all of that. I had three basic research questions. The first question was, what are the types of intertextuality that can be found in the two comic book adaptations of Vivekanand and Yoganand? The other was, what are the discursive representations? And the third was, how can comics be a source of, how can they be a teaching resource? Now, the comics that I used are, again, well known to the audience. They are the Amar Chitrakatha series, right? And Amar Chitrakatha series is known for a very simplified adaptation of very difficult matter, so that children and even adults of all ages can enjoy it. So to proceed with, the types of intertextuality that I found in the text was something which Robert Miola talks as source approximate of original. This basically means that there is a lot of compression of the original material. There are tons of instances in Vivekananda and Yoganand's life that have not been included in the text, because it would be like an information overload. Then another important aspect of source approximate is that there is a lot of emphasis, or I would say a lot of overemphasis on certain events. For example, in Vivekanand's life, the very famous incident where he goes to the Parliament of Religions has been covered in a couple of pages. Right? Then, his childhood, how he became a part of the Brahmo Samaj, has again been covered in a lot of pages in the comic, Amar Chitrakatha comic. Then Yoganand's life, how he actually met his guru, Sri Yukteswar ji, and his how he became determined to meditate, again is covered in a lot of pages. But other events are either omitted or they are written in one thought bubble or one word bubble or something like that. Another aspect is that there seems to be non-linearity in both the comic adaptations. Vivekanand's comic adaptation is very, very linear, in contrast to Yoganand's comic adaptation. Vivekanand's adaptation, begins with how he was born, his father and mother's influence, how he was as a student, and all of that. Yoganand's comic adaptation is very different from what he writes in his autobiography. It begins with how his guru was, blessed by an incarnation of Shiva, and foretold that, he would be sending a young boy called Yoganand to him for training. It begins from there. When in fact the autobiography does not begin from there. This aspect of how the guru, is told by this avatar of Shiva that I'll be sending a student to you features, in the 30th or the 31st chapter. So there is a lot of non-linearity over there in terms of, so the narratological differences are pretty dominant. Even though both the texts have an extra diegetic narration, that means there is somebody who's speaking about it, like, from an omniscient perspective. But this kind of a perspective is not seen in the biography of Vivekanand, the unabridged one, and in the autobiography of Yoganand, because there are a lot of I voices over there. The first person voices are also pretty much there. But in the comic adaptations, it's just an omniscient narration. Then, in terms of discursive representations, we find that Vivekanand's comic sticks pretty much to, it presents him like he's shown in Swami Likhanand's book biography. That is, he's a flawed character. Flawed character here, what do I mean by flawed character? Flawed means somebody who's very human, somebody who is, he's shown as somebody who, when he was young, he was restless. He also has a short temper. His mother used to pour water on him and chant the name of Shiva to calm him down. But Yoganand, in contrast, is presented as an ideal character, somebody who hardly has any flaws. So the comic representation again contrasts with the biography over there, because in Yoganand's autobiography, he clearly writes that, you know, there are, that I was, when I used to meditate, I used to be very, very moody and restless, and it is because of my guru's blessings that my restlessness calmed down, and, you know, I became a much better meditator. But all those aspects which are there in his autobiography are not shown in the comic. But in Vivekanand's case, the comic is a true adaptation of the biography. Also, another very important aspect is that the visuals in both the comics are very, very vivid. They're very, very descriptive. Many a times instances are represented as, you know, the characters speaking to themselves in thought. So something which in the biography of Vivekanand or in the autobiography of Yoganand might actually be written in one entire chapter, it's given in one thought bubble as the character is thinking this. So yes, that is pretty much there in both the texts. And my last question was that how is it that comics can be used as a teaching resource? So I would like to state this, that there is a theory in linguistics which is known as story grammar. And story grammar basically focuses on how, when we look at short versions of a story, we should focus on the 6 basic questions of what, where, when, how, who, those kind of questions. And um, as a teaching resource, these comic books can be used in terms of using story grammar. That is, when we are talking about these comics for younger children, at least, because comic books are primarily meant for young learners. Instead of focusing on too much detail on these spiritual leaders, it's better to focus on basic instances of who said this, who did that, what do you think about the character, where did they go, how did this happen, very basic simple questions. So this is how the comic books on let's say our historical figures, or even the example that I
Request you to please
yes,
wind
I'm
it.
just concluding. Yes. The comic books on historical figures, or the comic books on, spiritual giants like Vivekananda, Yoganand, can be used in actual classroom teaching, because it would break the monotony of, just a simplistic classroom teaching using chalk and blackboard method, or, just using charts. If we introduce a concept which is maybe which is read by parents to children in their home time, and if that is brought to the classroom, then it would greatly enhance learning, make it more holistic, like NEP envisions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an insightful presentation. Now we have Ms. Garima Yadav from University of Lucknow, who will be presenting her research paper on the topic Education and its role in framing gender identity in the light of Handmaid's Tale and the Testament.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are
Okay.
audible.
Once again, a very good afternoon. Today, I'm going to present my paper on the topic education
Ma'am,
and its role in
ma'am,
framing.
excuse me, ma'am. Request you to please switch on your camera,
Um, okay,
if it is possible.
ma'am, actually, it's not possible. That's why I am not visible on.
For a few
No.
moments.
Okay, okay. Am I visible?
All right, ma'am. Thank you. Please proceed.
Okay. Yes. So today I'm going to share my findings on this topic and how the unavailability of education helped the sons of Jacob in controlling the society and assigning role and identities to different genders in the Republic of Gilead. As we know, education
Ma'am,
involves learning
you may
skills
now
and
switch
character.
it off, ma'am. If you wish, you may now switch it off. We just wanted to make
Okay,
sure.
okay, okay, okay.
Thank,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Yes. So I was telling that how education involves mental development. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Yes.
Please proceed. All right.
Yes, mental development, which involves attaining knowledge, emotional development, which helps us in learning how one can deal with people and responding to their behavior, and psychological development, understanding one's own self and other people. Uh, Education helped women in India and Western society as well in understanding their own self and gaining knowledge, which provided them opportunities to work and earn. It gave them freedom from dependence on others. New Education Policy 2020, which is recently introduced, it focuses on enhancing the potential of the pupils, their holistic development, so that India could produce workforce according to the international market. The policy focuses on reducing the number of school dropouts and making sure the education is available according to the society learner comes from. Society emphasizes on trained teachers and counselors, which will help learners in learning equality, treating other genders with respect, and being more accepted. Now, the every nation across the world focus on the literacy of their citizens, irrespective of their gender. But in the fictional society of the Republic of Gilead, education and power was concentrated into the hands of the elite class. They divided the women of the society into the categories of the wives, the daughters, the handmaids, the marthas, the aunts, and the convives. But none of them was allowed to read or write. Only the aunts were allowed to read the books as they used their knowledge in manipulating the other women. The daughters of the elite class were provided a very different kind of knowledge where they were taught on the basis of the preachings of Bible and were trained to be an obedient daughter and later on an obedient wife. And the handmaids were brainwashed into believing that the job they were assigned, the task of producing the heir to the people of elite class, is a noble work they were doing for the society. June, the protagonist of the story, and her daughter Nicole, who was transported out of Gilead, expressed their views about the education and the conditions of women in the society of Gilead and how they led an independent life before the formation of Gilead and outside Gilead. So here I would like to conclude my paper um, with sharing my views that education plays a very important role in helping an individual in understanding their own identity, their relations with others, and how they should not be objectified. And because of in the absence of knowledge, in the absence of education in the Gilead, women were controlled by men, and they were not allowed to study, they were not allowed to work, and they were supposed to stay at home. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an illuminating presentation. Now I would like to call Dr. Jeevesh Sharma from Manipal University, Jaipur, to present his research paper on the topic Cybersecurity and Challenges in the Industry 4.0.
Dr. Jeevesh Sharma. Sir, are you here? Kanak, I think sir is not here. Can we move to the next participant? Kanak?
Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Divya Rani of Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, to present her research paper on digital ethnography in the age of social media, understanding online communities and cultural dynamics.
Ms. Divya Rani, can you hear us, ma'am? She is here in the meeting. Ma'am, can you hear us? Ms. Divya Rani.
Am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Now you are audible.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, you may please start. All right. Do you have a PPT to share?
Yes, ma'am. I have.
Okay.
It is visible to you all.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to all. My name is Divya Rani. I'm student of University Varanasi, and my topic is digital ethnography in the age of social media, understanding online communities and cultural dynamics. Okay, I'm starting. Uh, In the era of pervasive digital connectivity, digital ethnography in the age of social media, understanding online communities and cultural dynamics has emerged as a critical avenue within the social sciences and humanities. The advent of social media platforms has revolutionized human interaction, giving rise to diverse and dynamic online communities. This research explores the transformative potential of digital ethnography in capturing the nuances of virtual spaces, unveiling the intricacies of how individuals form identities, build relationships, and engage in cultural practices within the digital realm. The findings of the study hold significant implications for understanding contemporary societies, shedding light on the multifaceted ways in which digital technologies influence human behavior and cultural evolution. By bridging the gap between the physical and digital realms, digital ethnography contributes to a more comprehensive understanding of the complexities inherent in the social fabric of 21st century. In the rapidly evolving landscape of digital communication, traditional ethnographic methods have undergone a transformative shift, giving rise to the emergence of digital ethnography. Digital ethnography refers to the systematic study of online cultures, communities, and social practices through the application of ethnographic research methods adapted to the digital realm. Rooted in the foundational principles of traditional ethnography, digital ethnography extends its purview to the diverse and dynamic interactions that occur within virtual spaces, particularly on social media platforms. The evolution of digital ethnography is intricately linked to the proliferation of digital technologies and the widespread adoption of the internet. As the internet became an integral part of everyday life, researchers recognize the need to investigate the cultural and social dynamics unfolding in online spaces. Traditional ethnography, which traditionally evolved immersive field work and participant observation in physical communities, faced limitation in capturing the complexities of the digital landscape. The advent of the Internet in the late 20th century provided researchers with unprecedented access to virtual communities, prompting the adaptation of ethnographic methods to this new terrain. Digital ethnography acknowledges the fluidity of online interactions, the construction of digital identities, and the evolving nature of virtual spaces. It embraces a methodology that combines traditional ethnographic techniques such as participant observations and interviews with innovative approaches suited to the online environment. including content analysis of digital artifacts and the study of user-generated content. Significance of studying online communities and cultural dynamics in the digital era. The study of online communities and cultural dynamics in the digital era holds profound significance in understanding the complexities of contemporary human interaction and societal evolution. As our world becomes increasingly interconnected through digital platforms, the examination of online spaces becomes crucial for several compelling reasons, and the reasons are digital connectivity and cross cultural interactions, transformation of cultural practices, digital identity construction, impact on social norms and values, emergence of digital subcultures, media convergence and cultural hybridity, digital activism and social movements, economic and technological influences, policy implication and regulation. Now we look into the impact of social media on human interaction and cultural practices. The advent and widespread adoption of social media platforms have profoundly reshaped the landscape of human interaction and cultural practices, ushering in a new era marked by unprecedented connectivity and transformative cultural dynamics. The impact of social media extends across various facets of society, influencing the way individuals communicate, share information, and construct their identities within a digital realm. And here are the communication revolution, digital identity construction, cultural exchange and globalization, new forms of expression, community building and digital tribes, influence on social norms and values, eph- ephemeral nature of information, challenges to privacy and authenticity, crisis communication and activism, impact on traditional media and consumption patterns. The objective of this research is to critically examine the transformative impact of social media on human interaction and cultural practices within online communities, to identify and analyze the methodological challenges and opportunities inherent in applying digital ethnography to study diverse online communities on social media platforms, to explore the role of online communities in shaping individual and collective identities in the digital age, focusing on the construction and negotiation of identities within diverse virtual spaces, to assess the to assess the applicability and contributions of theoretical frameworks such as actor network theory, symbolic interactionism, and postmodernism in enhancing our understanding the cultural dynamics within online communities, to synthesize and present key findings from recent digital ethnographic studies shedding light on the complexities of online cultural practices, including identity formations, language use, and community building. Digital ethnography, as applied to the study of online communities, is a dynamic research approach that offers both distinctive challenges and unprecedented opportunities. And the challenges of digital ethnography are lack of physical presence, ethical dilemmas and informed consent, authenticity and pseudonymity, the rapid technological challenges. Opportunities of digital ethnography are real-time observation, big data and analytical tools, diverse data sources, and enhanced accessibility. Adaptability of traditional ethnographic methods are
Ma'am, sorry to
participants'
intervene.
observation.
Please excuse. Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Please conclude.
Okay, okay. Okay. Participants' observations, importance in the digital context, establishing rapport and trust, reflexivity in digital participation, interviews in the digital space, virtual interviews as a methodological tool, capturing personal narratives, overcoming digital barriers. Content analysis of online interactions are analyzing text, images, and multimedia content, identifying linguistic practices, uncovering symbolic interactionism, The linguistic practices in digital communication are emojis uses across platforms, code switching in online discourse, and the impact of digital tools on cultural expression are YouTube and democratization of content creation, virtual reality communities. I want to conclude my presentation by saying in traversing the uncharted territories of digital ethnography in the age of social media, understanding online communities and cultural dynamics, this exploration has illuminated the intricate interplay between humanity and the digital realm. As we conclude this journey, several key insights underscore the transformative significance of digital ethnography in unraveling the complexities of online communities. Digital ethnography stands as a powerful means to bridge the gap between the physical and virtual worlds. It empowers researchers to penetrate the layers of online communities, decode the symbolic language of digital interactions, and capture the essence of contemporary cultures. In the digital age, the synthesis of methodologies and theoretical framework position digital ethnography as a dynamic discipline capable of not only documenting but also interpreting the fluid dynamics of online cultures. Thank you. Thank you to all.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an educational presentation. Now we must begin with the Q&A session. If anyone has any doubt, they may put it up now.
Do we have any questions from any of the paper presenters? No. Sir, would you like to conclude?
Now I would like to invite Saurabh Banerjee sir to enlighten us with his kind words.
Yeah, since we are running short of time, I can understand. And there have been so many papers on so many topics. So I'll just conclude by saying a few words. I'll not take long. So the first paper that we heard by Chensa Korean ma'am was animals in captivity and how kind of physical well-being alone does not suffice. You need psychological well-being. And I was very interestingly reminded of the play called Justice, where the prisoner is weighed when he's being put into prison and then weighed when he's released. And if the weight does not decrease by much, it is thought that he was well. So psychological factors are not taken into account. It happened with humans. It is happening with animals now. Hopefully that will change. The second paper that we heard, actually it's not in the order, but it was the Angana Bose, and she talked about OTT market. And Angana had one point of time said that it is a limited kind of a base, but it is not. OTT is ruling the roost these days. And she very interestingly analyzed the Netflix logo. And I was reminded of our childhood when we had the Doordarshan logo coming in at 5 p.m. in the evening and the sound of the All India radio, which was like marked the beginning of our start of the entertainment for the day. She had very well analyzed the demography and the web series and what kind of people see what. The third paper that we heard was by Akansha Sharma, Geopolitics in the Indian Pacific region. And she's talked about Quad and the relative importance of the Indo-Pacific region in countering China. I think she had mentioned China, but we also needed to mention Australia. Australia, India, Japan are the middle powers, so as to be who will be countering the ascendancy of China if somehow China is becoming friends with America in the near future. So the next paper was by Shawnee Bhomik, Flowing Narratives, Blue Humanities. She had rightly pointed out that all blue humanities stress more on the oceans and not on the rivers. But definitely she has picked on a very popular Bengali novel, Podda Nodir Maji, which every Bengali, true blue Bengali, will have read or know something about. And she's shown how well this blue humanities can deal with rivers, which is more of a life provider to too many people, to a greater number of people than the ocean does. Okay, so the next was Dr. Annie Gupta. She had talked about navigating global trends in social sciences through French, and she has talked about how a language should not be taught only for its linguistics concern, but how a language should actually be taught to give us a taste of the culture that it represents, because a language is not only to express our thoughts, but also to express our culture. Then we had a wonderful paper by Dr. Soumya Sharma, comics that she's talked about, and she's talked about Swami Vivekananda and other things, and Amar Chitra Katha. Definitely, Amar Chitra Katha is a very popular thing. It is still popular. It is still going strong in the age of OTTs and other digital entertainment. And to confess, I still read Amar Chitra Kathas, the series that I have at home. My daughter used to read them. She's past the age, but I'm still in the age. My daughter will come back to it. And the way that she's presented, that talked about the source approximation and how we are to tell the children that, look, what you're reading in this, the thought bubble is not the entire thing, but it can actually develop into a chapter, was a very good point. So brevity is the soul. So I have seen that the brevity, you have to present in 5 minutes what you're thinking in perhaps 40 minutes and preparing in say 2 days. So that is very important, and that brought out very beautifully. And then we had a paper by Karima Jadhav, how education helps a woman, has given them independence, and how the NEP is aligned to that, so that we can not keep 50% of our population out of the workforce and utilize the maximum. And then we had last paper, digital ethnography in the age of social media. And Divya Rani has very beautifully brought out the impact of social media in our everyday lives and cultures, and how we now use acronyms and other short forms and emojis, which little people from the elder generation fail to uh, kind of understand. So we have to get used to that, because times are changing and we need to also keep up in pace with the time. So thank you for inviting me to such a lovely session, and I'd like to congratulate the organizers and all the paper presenters for such wonderful presentation, and I've learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, that you spent your precious time with us and enlightened us with your words. Everyone is requested to please fill the feedback form after leaving the meeting. The link will be provided in the WhatsApp group. Also, it is requested to the participants to not leave the WhatsApp group before receiving your certificates. With this, we come to the end of our session, and we would like to thank all our dignitaries as well as participants who made this conference a huge success. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
Thank
so
you
much,
so much, Saurabh
all
sir.
the part.
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you so much
thank you.
for being with us. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You may now leave the meeting.